Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the movie we're going to be talking about has the tagline that goes like this: After the fall from innocence, the legend begins. What do you think about that tagline, bro?
I mean, yeah, sure, it works. It's a cheesy movie. It's a guilty pleasure. I mean,
All
I think
right.
that my greatest thing is like to lose the madness. He said like that would be the tagline: lose the madness. But let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats. The movie bite starts now. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in for another weekly episode of Movie by Podcast. I am your host, Ruben, and with me, I got my brother in arms, the Russian. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. I'm excited about this one. This was my pick, and I dearly love this movie. This comes from the category of the guilty pleasures, and I think like you were asking me why you think that this is the guilty pleasure, and it took me
I
like
was
quite some
just
time.
about to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, I take the thoughts off your head.
Yep.
Um, so to me, the reason for that is because the movie does not take itself too seriously. The acting, which we're gonna touch in detail, is over the top. Like I mean, they cry half of the movie. Like it's very sentimental. It's very like Shakespearean. It's like such a tragedy, such a drama, and it's like it's a silly thing. Like they don't make movies like that anymore. Like everything has to be like serious with the point. Like there's not really a point to this movie, and the ending of it is just bizarre. Like that's one of the probably
Yep.
like most ridiculous things that I've seen in the cinema. How the movie ended, like, and well, I guess spoilers ahead. If you have not seen the movie, go watch it. Legends of the Fall.
All
It was
right.
made in 1994, so. uh,
1994, Legends of the Fall, starring Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, Aidan Quinn, Henry Thomas, and Julia Ormond, as we can see right there. This movie was released in, like I said, 1994 in December as a limited release because they wanted to contend for Oscar nominations. And then it was released officially at a wider release around January 13th. This movie proved to be a box office hit. It was made for about $30 million and it grossed about $161 million at the box office
wow,
during that time span, being released from December, January, and then so
really?
on. To be fair, the movie did not have that much strong competition. January tends to be a very weak month for movies.
But people also don't go to movies in January. Like they tend
Exactly.
not to. It's like cold. It's grimy. Like yeah.
Yep. So there were only two new movies that came out that same weekend in January 13th, and that was Higher Learning, which is a drama, and Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight was the other movie that got released that same weekend as Legends of the Fall. So again, no big competition. Legends of the Fall opened the weekend with about $14 million in the box office compared to everybody else, taking down from the number one spot Dumb and Dumber, who was reigning in the number one box office week after week since its release in December. It had 5 weeks already been released, and it was continuously the number one movie for a while until Legends of the Fall knocked it down. Um, and we're gonna see why this movie, like you mentioned, it's a guilty pleasure for you. Why it works. Why there's some things that don't work, and why it's a movie that everybody should watch. Okay, so let's start off with like the director himself, Mr. Edward Zwick, that a lot of people now know because he has a big filmography, has
Yeah.
big movies to his belt. Among them, The Last Samurai,
The Last Samurai was
A
fantastic.
Blood Diamond,
That same with Leonardo DiCaprio.
yeah,
And
Love and Other Drugs with Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. Among other,
he did the good things. He went after this one. He produced a lot of good movies. He starred in a lot of good movies. I mean, he directed a lot of good movies. So,
yep,
and I think like with this one, it was really cool to see a freedom which he gives to his cast. Like as I mentioned, like the cast, new, fairly new actors. Brad Pitt, not known before this. I believe the only film that truly like made him shine as an actor was The River Runs Through. And then obviously we have, the follow up after. I believe the Interview with Vampire came before the Legends of the Fall.
You're absolutely right. Interview with the Vampire was actually released in 1994, as the same year as Legend of the Fall, but
Yeah,
it got released months before.
earlier, right?
And I think, and then I think this is why because this movie became such a hit, because people were already seeing Brad Pitt in this Interview with a Vampire movie where he played a lead role against Tom Cruise, and it's an amazing movie.
Right.
And like you mentioned before Interview with a Vampire and Legend of the Fall, he only had his big screen, like he did a movie called Cool World that turned out to be a box office bomb. It's a horrible movie. After that, he did A River Runs Through It, and that was the movie that kind of like started to put him out there as a serious, more dramatic actor. And then he did Interview with a Vampire, and then Legends of the Fall that following year, like back to back. And then after that, we know the history of Brad Pitt. The following year, he came with Seven, and the rest is history.
I mean, Seven, Fight Club, 12 Monkeys, Snatch, and
12 Monkeys was his first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Role.
right. And I mean, you can see how much he's. Yeah.
There you go, Stevie.
Thank you for noticing, Stevie. Yeah, after 3 workouts, like I'm fucking filling up the entire screen. Um, no, but I think like with Brad Pitt, it's like he had to go through this dynamic change of where like he overacts, and you can see him overacting here. You can see him overacting in Seven. You can see him overacting in Fight Club, 12 Monkeys. He just tries to find his range, and he kind of like settles in after that, and then he just plays cool himself in Ocean series. I mean, in Snatch again, he uses all that like that creativity that was given to him by many directors before that, and delivers like one of the most iconic Brad Pitt roles of all time. Like the Snatch movie, the Brad Pitt Snatch is like just. I mean, we talked about it last year, but it's he's a phenomenal actor, and obviously later on he finally gets his Oscar, but I think they just given to him like it was way too like not too late, but it's like, hey, after 40 years of making movies, like we're just gonna give you this Oscar, but you were next to again great Leonardo DiCaprio in Tarantino movie, so what is there not to like about that? But here, like yeah, like he's moping half of the movie, he's like being serious half of the movie, he's like goes on a discovery quest to trying to find the true himself as a character in this movie. Um, so when it comes down to directing, I think he did a good job in this one. Like it's all paced together. It's very well. The it doesn't get boring, and it does not like feel like it's rushed. So I like these kind of movies. I like these 2 hour long epic
I agree.
melodrama. So
Yeah, I agree with you with Edward Zwick's direction in this movie, because this movie clocks in about 2 hours and 12 minutes, and it doesn't really feel like a 2 hour movie. Next thing you know, like you've got 30 minutes left in the movie, and you're like, oh wow, like you said, the pacing on it's very there's never a dull moment in the movie. And I find that to be kind of like his style. Like if you watch movies like The Last Samurai, which for me is probably his best film to date.
I mean, I will have to stick with Legends of the Fall, but
I mean, that's you. I mean, this is your guilty pleasure, but
right,
like The Last Samurai for me, it's his
Last
best
Samurai is
work.
good. Yes, it's really good.
And again, I mean, Last Samurai, it's another movie you watch and the pacing is good. You never realize it's a 2 hour and a half movie, and the same thing happens with Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? So he does a very good job at making sure the viewer stays with you. And I think he does a very good directing these actors into like these characters. Like you believe in these characters despite the overacting for Brad Pitt. Like I love the performance of Aidan Quinn as the older brother Alfred.
Oh,
Like
he's fantastic.
yeah, he has some scenes in this movie that
Right.
they're just scene stealers. Like they make the whole movie.
Yep.
And I'm gonna share that later on when we
Yeah,
talk
when
about
we get
favorite
to the
scenes.
Acting, yeah, when we get to acting, like I,
But
Right.
again, Edward Zwick has done a great job, and you know he gets very young actors in this film. We talk about Julia Ormond and Brad Pitt. You know, like very young upcoming actors. You know, especially Brad Pitt himself, who's barely had a good movie under his belt, but he plays that middle brother to like
Very
wow,
believable.
yeah, it is.
He's super believable. You look at him and you're like, I see his struggle, I see his pain, and like my three descriptions that I kind of like did for like for the brothers themselves. I think like Samuel, he's a man of honor. You know, the younger brother, like he's a man of duty. Like he needs, you know, to do what is asked for him by his fellow men, by his country, by what he thinks is the right thing to do. And then Tristan is man of nature. Like he's with the spirits, and he's like all about, you know, the traveling. Like he's just man of nature.
Yeah.
And the oldest one, the Alfred, is like he's a man of power, either seeking power or he wants control. Like he's more about like every following the rules, trying to establish any kind of pattern where he can justify and win that way. So like that's a very three distinct characters, and they get enough time to kind of like give us an understanding of who they are, what they stand for, and just like why would I be rooting for this guy? You know, if I don't know him. Like nowadays, people don't in the movies. Like you watch it like its main character gets like little or none backstory, and you're like, I'm supposed to root for this guy or for this girl. Like I don't know nothing about them. In this scenario, like everybody gets like the character development to some degree, you know, and that's what makes that's what makes it for a compelling story. And I also like I love how the storytelling it's like it's quite unique how it's never told from this movie. I can't compare it to anything else that's done in that way. So usually, like if you have a narrator, like it's a one person, like you know, like Shawshank Redemption, you get like Morgan Freeman narrating the entire movie. You know,
Yeah.
here it's technically so the all the letters which main characters wrote to each other being collected at the end of at the end of their lifetime by the one step. It's the Indian acquaintance and the Indian fella who is like well Native American, I guess, who is the very good friend with the colonel who's played by Anthony Hopkins, who is the father, William Ludlow.
Ludlow.
Ludlow, yeah.
Ludlow. Yeah.
And then he kind of like sharing these letters with us as a viewer, and each letter is read behind the screen as is being narrated by the person who wrote it. So, if, for example, if Samuel writes to his father, then Samuel like narrates that letter. If Tristan writes it to Jesus, I keep forgetting the girl's name, Susannah.
Susannah. Yeah.
If he writes to Susannah, then it's narrated by Brad Pitt, and if Susannah writes a letter, obviously it's narrated by her. So I really like how that you know tendency goes like keeps the story going, and, you know, and things that we you know don't hear from the letters. It's kind of like they are presented to us with, I guess that's the memories of one stab, and he's like explaining us what happened and how it went down. So to me, like it was like it was an exciting way to tell the story. You know, it's something that I found extremely, you know, impressive. So, what do you think? How you take that?
So I mean, since we're talking about now characters, then might as well jump into like the acting, and I think it's just the power of like what these actors deliver for each of their characters is just amazing. Like you feel connected, you feel in a way like connected to Aidan Quinn's role as Alfred Ludlow, the oldest of the brothers, you know, and then you feel connected to Brad Pitt, to Tristan, right? Henry Thomas, you know, even though he only has probably what like 20 minutes of screen time, he impacts you as the youngest of the brother. Because look, I have brothers, you know, and in a way I can relate to this whole like sibling rivalry and fight, you know, and having like knowing that you're the one parent's favorite and the other like you're treated like you're the oldest. You need to like lead by example, like, and then the youngest is the baby of the clans. Like you need to take care of the youngest. Like you need to watch over the youngest. And I think that did not. You can see the dynamics of that brotherhood throughout the movie, and again, that's delivered amazingly because of the acting behind each of these characters. Susannah, played by the magnificent Julia Ormond, who has done great movies. I think after this movie, she went to do like the big hit in 1995 called First Night with Richard Gere and Sean Connery, right? That was based on Excalibur's and King Arthur, right? She portrays this fragile character that doesn't know what she wants, who she is. She knows she loves one brother, but then deep down she has this passion for Tristan, who is played by Brad Pitt. And then obviously Aidan Quinn feels this attraction, this love for her, but he knows that she doesn't love him. And this is where it all spans in this whole passion betrayal, because this whole movie it's all about passion and betrayal and brotherhood. It's all those themes that it talks, and it's just amazing. And like I just want to highlight like the chemistry that all of these actors had between them. You can tell, like they could have been in any other life, they could have been brothers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like it's amazing.
It is over the top, but it's like where it's not over the top. Like you take any family and like if there's the argument, it's over the top argument. If there's like a true love between two people, like it's gonna be, extremely passionate. The aspect you kind of touched on, like I also kind of summarized it, and obviously somebody who watched the movie with you summarized it in a different way, but I think like to us as a viewer, it's represented like kind of three different stages of love. I mean, I don't know if I could call it stages, but like the first love for Samuel with Susannah, it's like it's the innocent love. It's like that pure one. It's the honest one with hopes and dreams. It's something like you want to build together. Like it's something like wonderful, something out of the fairy tale books, right? So that's one storyline. And the second one was the love with Tristan. That's like that you mentioned. Like it's a pure passion. Like that's lust at its best. Like it's just like two bodies want to be together and never want to be apart. It's like the love of the fiery love, the one which like with the ups and downs through the skies, where it's like when it's magnificent, it's like it's so good, but it's so, and when it's bad, it's like hell, like that's the love that they have, and neither one, like I mean, I guess in a Susannah's way, she doesn't want to lose it, she doesn't want to like get it away, but she also understands that she's the one who loves him more than he would ever be able to like love her back. It's like that. She doesn't say it in this movie, but I believe like there was a quote in some of the movies. It's like I will love you. I will love us. I will love us for both of us. Like it's like
Yeah.
It's gonna be enough, and obviously that does not work out. And the third part, the third love, it's like more of the like submissive love, more of the calculated love, more of the like secure, that boring like I'm gonna marry Alfred just because like I don't see any other way to like exist. I can't be on my own, and I want somebody next to me, and Alfred is like the next best thing, because one brother is dead, the second one is gone, so I'm just gonna settle for this one. So it's like I'm gonna settle, and I'm gonna try to make it work, and obviously it fucking doesn't work, and it's a disaster for like everybody. But like there's some poetry to it. I again, like we talk about like the artsy stuff, like when her character is explained by the, well, I don't want to call him the chief, but like the one stab, like he's like
One stab, yeah.
It's like a water which freezes in a stone and then breaks the stone, and that's what she technically does for this family. She kind of like she's that water. She comes in, she floats in, she freezes, and then it breaks the family apart. And he says like you can't blame the water, like it's,
You can't, yeah.
But yeah, now you can go ahead and just tell what
It's it's amazing. Like I totally agree with you. Like every aspect of it, of what you just mentioned, and it just hit right there. And I know I was watching this movie last night with my wife, and she sees the character of Susannah, and she makes a comment like she sees Susannah as the village bicycle. Everybody wants to ride on it, and I started laughing because I mean.
That's cruel, but it's kind of true. Like
It is. I mean,
when you texted it to me, I was like, I can't fucking unsee it now. Why did you have to do this?
I mean, but at the same time, like this movie is set in the 1900s. It's going through different time settings,
Like,
from
there was only one fucking bicycle in the village. What they supposed to do?
We have this family like lives up in the mountains and like in the Dakotas, and the younger brother shows up with this innocent.
Wait, it's in Montana.
Montana. Yeah,
This
Montana.
this is
Sorry,
set in Montana.
Montana. That's right. But then you got one of the brothers shows up with this innocent, so pure,
Right.
beautiful woman, and you have two other brothers. You know, like they've never seen a woman of like her. So
Right.
yes, I mean you think like that, seeing this movie for the first time.
I mean, like
Uh,
it's fun. Like when we started like talking about the plot and the characters, it's like let's just throw some of them under the bus. It's like the Alfred character is like, after they, and it's always like at the grave, like at the Samuel's grave, like he's like, hey, listen, like you know, Samuel's dead, but I kind of love you. I loved you like from the moment I met you. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like that's cringy. And she's like, no, we ain't gonna work out. But then, and at the same time, like you see Tristan comes back after his battle with his demons, and then he's like at the grave, and he's like crying like a little bitch, and she comes in and she's like, "Oh my god, I need to comfort him. Like this is the one I need to comfort. Fuck the one whose leg
yeah.
blew up. Like this is the. But it's Brad Pitt, like in his prime. Like, well, who would not want to comfort crying Brad Pitt at his prime? Like, fuck, man. Like, I mean, I wouldn't, but like I'm just saying, like it would be fucking tempting. Anyway, like so to me, like I see what you mean by that point. It's like, yeah, look at her, like she's magnificent. These fucking crazy motherfuckers never seen any elegant like this. They grew up hunting bears
Yeah.
and racing horses. Yeah. Well, which I mean, we're kind of all over the place, but like let's just
So
talk
let's
about
go.
cinematography. Like
Let's talk about cinematography. Let's
how
talk about the magnificent work that Mr. John Toll did for this movie.
bro, like, and I believe that's what they won the Oscar for, right?
Yes,
Cinematography.
so this movie won 3 Oscars. They were all technical. The only like best actor and best supporting acting nomination and best movie nomination they got was from the Golden Globes,
Right.
which I was surprised. I feel like this movie should have been nominated for some sort of like Academy Award in that aspect as well. But the Academy does what they do.
Yeah, fuck them.
But John Toll won best cinematography for this movie, and then the following year he won for Braveheart. So he won back to back. So
Uh, yeah, like, dude, like the shots are brilliant. Like, you can, if you take all the moping out, and if you take like some of the, the even the fight scenes out, like, there's not too many of them, but they are there. Like, you can just play it in the background, like, and it's gorgeous. Like the all the sceneries, all the like the mountains of Montana, all the rivers, all the forests, all the fucking horse riding, like that old farm. It looks so authentic, and I love it. Like there's some of the most brilliant shots ever filmed is in this movie, and I'm not exaggerating. Like go watch it, and like you can even turn off the volume if you want, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
there's
It
something
looks,
about those nature shots that just
yeah,
calms you down, and I think it just goes so well with the story because there are so much emotions involved in this movie from everyone and like every single character that just having those like shots of the wilderness and like nature is like it's like in a way like soothing. It's like letting the viewer know like, hey, this is all happening, but look at this beautiful like sunset or sundown, sun up, right? Or look at the pine, look at the horses running. Like it just makes you feel like more grounded to that, like it's like connected to everything that's happening.
yeah, and
Um,
like for the movie which made us 1994, like I rewatched it today, and I mean, not to brag, but on my OLED it looks freaking fantastic. Like
I
it's
believe it
it's
does, yeah.
it's not, I mean, it's not 4K, but it's gorgeous. Like I got nothing to complain. I don't know, maybe the upscaling finally caught up with LG. I just uploaded the latest software, maybe that helped, but yeah, it looked magnificent. Like I got no complaints about the color palettes, all the shot locations that they took. I mean, I don't know how much it was filmed in a studio and how much it was filmed in actually like in the wild. Like it's hard to tell with these kind of movies. Like
I think a good chunk of the movie was filmed in actual Montana.
right, because
I,
nowadays like it's easier for the studio just put a green screen and put anything they want
yeah,
out there, and
yeah.
it's. I mean, I don't think it works like when you actually see those shots, and I'm like, yes, this is the river running. This is like you mentioned the sunset. This is the running horses. This is the actual ranch, which was actual farm, like whatever that was built there, and you got like the animal skulls on the posts around like the stable. It's just I mean, it looks good. It looks good. It feels authentic. It works with the storyline. Uh, and like the only time that they show the city, like it's a good contrast. With the time, and then they show the war, it's very. I mean, it's heavy oriented on like the combat. It's like the first time they see it, it's like you see the sky is being lit up in this violent red color, and you're like, oh shit, what's happening? And you see the soldiers running, and the bullets flying, and you're like, oh my god, this is how 1917 is supposed to look,
Yeah.
not that fucking piece of shit that we got. But anyway, yeah, it to me, like, cinematography in this one is probably like, and well, Academy also agreed, I guess. But that's the one of the things that you cannot like dismantle. Like, you cannot
Yeah.
say something went wrong. Like, we can talk about directing, we can talk about the plot holes, we can talk about the acting being not on par, but you cannot take like cinematography out
I
of
mean,
this.
John told him, and this is the word. Obviously, he won an Oscar for Braveheart. He did return to work with Edward Zwick later on with The Last Samurai. So he also shot The Last Samurai, and he also has done like The Thin Red Line with Terrence Malick, and so he has a good filmography under his belt. So he's a 2-time Academy Award winning cinematographer. So he's like right there in the line with like Roger Deakins and everybody else that we've talked about in the past. So amazing. So let's talk about the screenplay. Like, what do you think about the screenplay about this movie? Like, how it's written? How, like, what do you think about it?
I mean, the plot is basic. It's simple, but again, like, sometimes the simple things they work. Like, you have like, pretty much like on the script, like, you look like, okay, so what do I do? I have a father who is a colonel who doesn't want to fight anymore, who is like against the pretty much the government
Hmm.
or any way of ruling people. He wants them to like run free and be wild. I guess that's kind of like a little bit of an anarchist, but hey, whatever. He settles down. He has three sons who are three brothers, and his wife kind of like, hey, I'm gonna peace out. Like, I like everything you're doing, but you do it on your own. And then there's like the line in the movie where it's like she loved the idea of them,
Hmm.
but like when it comes down to actually working out that idea, not too many people can. And like, it's kind of surprising. Usually, like in those kind of movies and those type of situations, and especially nowadays, like I would feel like men and women would stick together, more than nowadays. Like, nowadays,
Hmm.
everybody wants to be a fucking independent. Nobody wants to work in the relationship. No offense to you, you're doing great. Anyway, but so with these three brothers, one of them goes to college or to I forgot the university, and then he meets the girl of his
Hmm.
dreams, Susannah, and he asks her to marry her, and he brings her to the ranch, and he introduces his brothers. He introduces his father to her. She's like a lady of the house. They all behave like gentlemen around her. They play some tennis. They eat at dinner in a like a dressed up like suits and a dress. She's wearing a dress at the dinner. Like, nobody fucking ever does that nowadays, obviously. But it looks good. It feels good. It works for the story. Obviously, Samuel just says, "Hey, there's the war going on. I need to go," and that is like, you're not going to the war. Like, I've been in the war. There's nothing but death in the war. But like, Sam is like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna go. And then obviously the two brothers are like, well, fuck, we're gonna have to go and save him. During one combat, Alfred gets like, there's an explosion that happens next to him, so he gets like, his leg gets hurt, so he's like in a medical tent. He can't move. Tristan is trying to like consult with him at that time, like, we learn that Samuel decided to go on a mission by himself, and he gets caught in barbed wire. He gets blinded, and he gets freaking executed by some Germans and the machine gun. An entire like a magazine or whatever cartridge has been unloaded into him. Sam like lose. I mean, obviously Sam loses his life, and Tristan loses his mind over this. He goes on a voyage to somewhere while Susanna gets and the father gets the news from Alfred. Alfred trying to like slip into the Susanna's DMs. I guess that's what they say nowadays, and that does not work well for him. Um, so Tristan comes back again, fucking writing like he. I like how he always comes back in like three times.
Riding a horse.
riding a horse. Like we
Yeah,
introduce
it's so majestic.
yeah, like he's riding the horse first time with the, like his killed prey on the other horse. When he comes back, he's riding the horse in a suit, and he's like all like you know sad, and he's mourning his brother lost, and obviously she needs to comfort him, so they hit it on. Uh, love it, like love the chemistry, like the three of them, like it's such a good dynamic. Like there's not too many words spoken between them, but those little looks, those little implications, like by how they interact with their facial expressions to each other, like it tells you everything. Like, and that's either it's a well directed, obviously, pieces, scenes, and it's also well executed. So it's props to both the actors and the director by understanding how they wanted to present their story to us, by eliminated major words, like explaining the situation, like being overexposed about what's happening on the screen. Instead they just say, listen, figure this out, like this is the shot, what happened there, like you think about it. Obviously at the end they kind of like tell you exactly what was going on in her head and his head, but it's later on it's kind of like just a really smoothly seasoned tale. So I love that acting part, and obviously they fell in love. Well, they maybe not fell in love is the right thing, but they comfort each other through physical activities. We're not gonna mention which, but you can fucking guess. But afterwards, Tristan gets bored, and his demons come back, and he wants to fucking explore the world. So he disappears, and she says, "I'm gonna wait for you forever." And we're gonna go into the timing detail later on because actually I can fucking probably complain about it now, right?
I mean, you can start complaining. I mean,
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in. It's time. It's
go
time
go
for me
go
to
ahead. This is your movie. Like
complain
go at
away.
it. Complain away.
Yeah, so like in one of the letters which we mentioned, that's kind of the driving force of the story. Is like Susannah writes, and it's 1919, and Tristan is somewhere on a boat, and he's exploring the world, and he became a hunter, and she writes him a letter. So it's 1919. He writes back to her that, hey, I'm dead, marry another, right?
Yeah.
So that's 1919. So then the years and years go by, and Tristan does not come back, and we're like emphasized by the one stab that, like, hey, listen, like the winter passes by and Tristan's not here, another spring, another winter, and so on. So it's like a long time comes by, right? So we already know it's time passed by. By the time that Tristan comes back, the news is delivered that to Alfred that, hey, he's about to marry Isabel too, which is the daughter of the Indian woman and like some dude who committed some kind of crime and ran away, but now he settled and is acquaintance on the range. So their daughter Isabel too, because the colonel's wife was Isabel one. So here's we go, a little girl at the time of the letter was written, she's about what, 12, 13. That's, I mean, we can guess it, but that's about
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that she was
right.
13 as well. She was a teenager.
So when we say that
There's Paul.
so when we say like they're about to get married, it's mentioned that she's 20 years old now.
Yeah. So
right,
7 years at least have passed.
7 years. So,
Yeah.
but when Susannah writes the letter talking about the wedding, she mentions that it's the year 2021, which
No, not 2021. They didn't go that far into the future.
Sorry, 1921.
1921.
1921. Sorry. It's wrong movie. Well, yeah. So 1921, where it's like, no, it does not fucking end up. You motherfuckers, you like Ray, bad with math. Like, no, that's not how it fucking works, right? So that's one of the parts. Another fucking huge, like, I mean, I like that's the part I hate. I mean, it's not big, but it's like it still just hurts me the most. Like when Samuel dies, right? As I mentioned, like the Germans unloaded emptied the entire clip or whatever you call
on
it
him, yeah.
on him. Like he got like shot by 20 bullets, right?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt runs to him, and he still like has some kind of life force to tell him like some of his last dying words. Okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay. Let's okay. We let's believe in that. But then at the end of the movie when Isabel 2 gets shot, and the way she gets shot is a fucking bullet ricochets off the cliff and clips her, and it hits her like not in the chest. It's like right somewhere fucking around here. Like there's no deadly organs here, is there? I gotta know. Maybe.
I mean, you got your lungs in that area in the
Right,
chest.
but still, like fucking bullet to the lungs. Like you see people live through that. Anyway, so she gets hit, and like there's no last words from her. Like she's dead instantly. Like boom, like dead. Like no last words from her. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like her accent. Like I think she only has like 3 lines in the entire movie.
You're talking about Isabel too?
Yeah, like in the entire movie, like as a grown Isabel too, right? As a kid, she
The
has
grown
like,
up, yeah.
and she has some more lines. Like when she grows up, like she only says, "The dog is yours. Oh, you came back, and like I know where the fucking grease is or whatever, Eurythia." And then that's it. Like that's their love story. Like that's you only see them on the screen, like running horses and then playing in the fucking field, and then boom, 2 kids later, and then boom, she's dead. Like, I mean, you only need one fucking bicycle in the fucking village, right? You're not gonna spend that more time about explaining why there's supposed to be 2 bicycles. Anyway, so that's my like take on the plot, on the storyline. Music is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about James Horner.
James Horner did the music. Like it's
James Horner has
one of the
like
best
a trademark when he composes. He uses like, I don't know if it's some sort of flute, but like I can tell it's him because when I was listening to the score of this movie while I was watching it, it brought me back flashbacks of The Mask of Zorro
and Titanic.
And Titanic, exactly.
Like it's all over like pre-Titanic vibes.
Yeah, James fucking Horner. I mean, he's amazing. Unfortunately, he passed away years back, but he left a legacy when it comes to composition. I think he even worked on Aliens with. He was a frequent collaborator with James Cameron, so I think he did Aliens.
Avatar as well, right?
He did Avatar as well. He did. Yeah. He frequently worked with Cameron. Him and Cameron were like buddies growing up.
Yeah, The Legend of Zorro. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a guilty pleasure. Like, once upon a time, you bring this movie out and you play it when you like. It's sad story. There's no real lessons to be learned from this.
No, there isn't. I mean, you just have 3 brothers. One follows everything by the rules, like, and nothing works out for him.
The tagline of this movie should be 3 brothers and a village bicycle. Like that should be that should be the tagline of this one. Somebody coined that one out.
There you go. 3 brothers and the village bicycle.
Right.
I mean, you have Tristan, who's
by
played
Anthony Hopkins.
What?
3 brothers and the village bicycle, narrated by Anthony Hopkins.
Narrated by, he
doesn't narrate.
It's One Step is the one that narrates the.
Favorite scenes. Let's go. Favorite scenes. Hateful scenes. Like what?
I mean, my favorite moment in the movie, and it's when Aidan Quinn pulls up to Brad Pitt and outside the cabin. And he tells them, "You will marry her," because he found out they had their night and everything. And Brad Pitt goes like, "If she will have me, I will." And they start this argument like, "What do you mean if she will have you?" I love that scene because that's when Anthony Hopkins comes out and starts blaming Aidan Quinn's character for everything that has happened. And he brings up the name of Samuel, and like they're still living through this grief in that scene, and you can tell like that big grief. They haven't completed the 5 stages of grief, you know. And he goes like, "Don't you dare mention that name in this house." And
the only problem with you remembering the scenes, it's like you combining 2 different scenes.
I mean, they're all together, aren't they?
No, they're not. You see, you remember the porch. The only thing together there is the porch. So here,
I thought.
No. Let me break it out to you. When he comes out and says, "Hey, you're gonna marry her,"
yeah,
like, she will help me. He's like, but the Alfred is like, "Yeah, Samuel died," and he's like, "Don't you fucking bring Samuel into
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yes.
Once, and then that scene is done. And then when Tristan leaves them all and goes off to wandering,
That's right. That's
and
right.
she's crying out there, and she receives the letter from Tristan saying, "You dead
So
to me."
okay, yes. So that's the scene I
I'll let you
like.
slide. Which one? The first
The
one? Or
last
second
one. That's the scene actually. Yeah, I did have my scenes
All right. You
confused.
tried to put two together. I'll give you props.
I mean,
for that.
in my head, that would have worked better.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Most of the people never watched the movie, never will. So
It's okay.
That would let you slide. But here you go. Me fucking.
Hey, if I was directing that movie, I would have put
fact-checking.
those things together.
Fake fucking news. You can't put those things together.
Yeah,
They're
yes,
they're
yeah.
two separate
Look,
scenes.
how can you end like the whole like fight thing? Like, I'll let that once, and then he
Yeah.
reinforces once.
Overacting. That's overacting.
Once.
It's a horrible scene. Like I was like, where are you going with this one? This is one of the dumbest scenes in the fucking movie.
Once.
Overacted. That was like such a like that's why you don't get an Oscar for this one or nomination or like
but I like the one that you described, the last one that you described, because you can see Aidan Quinn's emotion like deeply in that scene.
Yeah, and the father blaming him. I'll give you that one. And
yeah, that's the scene. Yeah,
and she's like losing it all. Like she's crying.
Oh yes, because she's
out. Like she's like, he told me to marry another, and yes, I give you.
Yes, okay, you're absolutely right. You are right. And this is why this is your guilty pleasure.
It's good that it's recorded because I can fucking repeat this when you say it, I'm right.
At the 41 mark, I admitted that was wrong, and the Russian is right.
The Russian is right.
Okay.
Right.
And this is why this is his guilty pleasure, because he's seen this movie so many times. I've only seen this movie twice. Yesterday was the second time. And the only reason I saw this movie the first time because you recommended it to me, and you bought it.
Buy the fucking movie for you.
You bought it, and you told me like, I'm gonna buy it. You need to watch this movie, and I was like, fine, just because you bought it. The same thing you did for Pig.
The sacrifices I have to go through for you to enjoy movies. See, yes, the Pig, fucking one of the best this year. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. So
what's your favorite movie in the movie?
To me, my favorite scene is the scene before they go to war, and that's the scene with Brad Pitt and Julian Ormond.
Okay.
Is when she comes out there and she's like, "You gotta have to talk him out of it, out of going to war," and he says, "No, like that's your job. Like you can do it. Like you can talk him out of this," and you can see her like again starting to like tear up, and he kind of hugs her, and it's this intimate moment between them, and that's when you see like that attraction. You see that animalistic passion that they have for each other, and there's no words to this. Nobody says anything, right? But in order to add to that, so the regular viewer would understand that scene, right? They add Alfred character who comes in and he's like shocked. He's in disbelief. He sees what's happening, and he sees that kind of like through our eyes. We're like, what the fuck is going on? Are they about to like jump the bed? Like they go into war. She's supposed to marry the guy.
Yeah.
They have that tense, passionate moment, and that's when like everything kind of like starts.
That's like the catalyst moment right there.
Yes.
That's like the pin that starts everything. Yeah.
That's when then. The airplane has been pushed and the wind just takes over from there. Like it's like Jesus takes the wheel. After that moment, nobody's no longer in control. Like the bicycle has been fucking taken off the chain.
That's the moment when everybody wants to start riding the bicycle.
Exactly. That's the moment that the bicycle, the safety pins go off.
The training wheels are off.
The training wheels fall off, and it's like. And another thing, like we're laughing, like another thing that I love dearly about this, and it's like it's something like Josh Whedon would have written, and it's the dialogue where the younger brother and the middle brother talk about like what he should do with White. Like he's like, well, I want to I want to be intimate with my future wife, and what do you think I should do? And Brad Pitt just looks at him and goes like, I recommend fucking. Bro, like, I die every time I watch this. It's like what would older brothers tell to the younger brother? Like, it's like.
I mean, like, that's what any brother would tell any other brother.
Like,
it's a brotherly conversation.
I recommend fucking. He's like, no, I don't want to do. Like, he's like, you don't want to fuck her? Like,
yeah.
No, that's not what I mean. It's like, what do you mean? Because I will be riding that bicycle. Fucking you wait.
Just wait for you to die.
I mean, yeah. So that's my favorite. I mean, another scene which I really, really, really like, and it's probably like close second, which I couldn't decide which one I love more, is that their conversation at the end when she goes to see him in jail.
Yeah.
Samuel dead, Isabel too is dead, and she starts off like with like, and you see that connection, that passion between them again. Like you see that hey, remember we had something, and then she starts fucking talking nonsense. Like and that's when like the bicycle is broken, and she says shit like I wish I would be the mother of your kids, and then she follows up with, I think that I wish that Samuel died. And I think I wish that Isabel died.
Yeah.
And I wish like that Samuel died. And you see the Brad Pitt's like reaction to it. It's like, bitch,
you didn't have anything to do with their deaths.
He says that, but like you see in his face, like he just starts to be distant, and then she understands how broken she is in her head. Like you understand after that scene, you understand that like there's no coming back. Like the words that she said.
Yeah, I mean, you can't come back from saying words like that.
Right, like word is not a fucking bird. When it flies off you, like you can't catch it. Like you can't fucking, like you can start apologizing. Like now, fucking, the YouTube trend and Twitter trend is like, oh, let's say something stupid. Oh, I'm so sorry about it. Fuck you, and fuck your stories. Like you did this. Like you did it. There's no apologies. Like nobody gonna be forgiven. Only God forgives. Like as stated in another movie, but. So to me, like those two are just like above everything else in this movie. Like they just make everything around them. Like 2 hours and 12 minutes are condensed in these two magnificent scenes and interactions between two main characters.
It is. I agree. All right. Any final thoughts? What's your least favorite? The
least favorite one is like I hate that bar scene where they like
the 4 beer.
Yeah, the 4 beer is like. It's unnecessary. Like that scene is like it does not give us anything. That scene is just like the colonel was like disappointed in his son, but like it's his son. He's still gonna like forgive him. He's still gonna somebody's riding a bicycle.
Yeah. That's how good my microphone is.
Yeah, like that's gonna be the title of this podcast. So. That's my least favorite scene where it's just like it's so like it's aggressive for no reason, like it just fuck it.
I mean, I think it's just they're just trying to show you like how broken he is at that point.
Right.
Like he had given up, because he felt he was at fault for Samuel's death and for because at that point Alfred had already left, right?
Yeah. He's with her, but he doesn't want to be with her. He's about to like. Few scenes later, he's driving the horse, riding.
Yeah, he's
horse,
leaving. And
then he's like, packing the shit. But like by far the worst fucking scene of this entire movie, and it's on a different level. Like the end scene. The end scene when he fights the bear. It's like they shot the movie and they're like, oh shit, we forgot the ending.
They probably didn't know how to end it. Yeah.
And they gave the camera to like a fucking 12-year-old, and they're like, hey, listen, like. There's a bear costume right there, and we're gonna get this bum who's like off the street. Just dress him up like how you want and let him fight the bear, and that's gonna be the ending. And and that scene is like, what the fuck? Like you just like if One Step just read like what happened, I would be a lot happier. Like him sitting at the campfire and burning all those letters and like telling us a story what happened to Tristan. Like many years, he found that bear, he fought him, and he died bravely. Like the bear and him became one. Just tell me that. I don't want to fucking see the bizarre shakiness of the camera and this.
I agree.
Palm of the guy like fighting the. You know what? Like I swear to you, like what's the Alejandro Inarritu?
Inarritu, yeah.
Inarritu, he saw that scene and he said,
I can make it better.
Yeah, he's like, hold my beer, and he called Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's like, listen, bro, like, I got it. Like, we need to shoot this scene. You need to fight the bear. And they're like, fucking, this is how you fight the bear. So I
agree with you on that scene.
We can cut that Leonardo DiCaprio scene from Revenant and plug it into the Legends of the Fall at the end.
Yeah.
Like, that works.
You know how I would have probably ended that scene? You know when they're panning that shot with all the gravestones of all the Ludlows? I would have just ended that scene and have like an old Tristan like looking at the tombstones.
That would work, yeah.
And then just do a fade to black because he outlived everybody in his family because of who he was.
Yep.
And everybody that he loved died before him, and he was cursed. He was like the black sheep of the family.
Yep.
And like he could never love anybody because anybody that he would love would die before him.
Yep.
And then just fade to black.
There you go. Like
that's how I would have ended it. Yeah.
There's 10 different ways to end that fucking story, except the one which they picked, and you're like, why? Like, every time I see that, that's why I don't watch this movie like for like 2 years or 3 years. It's like because you see that scene and you're like, why you had to do this? Like, what happened here? Like, anyway, so yeah. Final thoughts. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a fantastic movie. It's rated, I believe, on IMDb. It's 7.5, I believe, stars, which is like it's up there.
Not bad.
It's not bad at all. I don't know the Rotten Tomatoes score, but I'm pretty sure.
It's like 50 something. It's not like
it's
fresh.
Not, it's not. Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. There's one scene which just can make it fucking.
I mean, it's like you said. I mean, it's a movie that
everybody, and you have to be in the mood. You have to be on the mood. You have to be prepared to see 3 guys ride a bicycle. Well, actually, one did not get to ride it. One.
Oh, Samuel didn't get to ride it.
He just oiled the chain. He
bought it.
He bought a bicycle. He oiled the chain. He fixed the fucking.
He's like when the kid gets a new bike. He's like, "Hey guys, look, I bought a new bike," and everybody wants to try it out before him.
And then he gets hit by the car.
Yeah.
While not on the bike. All right. Great.
I mean, my final thoughts. Like, it's one of those movies you should at least watch once. It's not a bad movie. It's a very driven story. There's no happy ending. It's a sad movie. It's like a sad poem.
Yeah.
It's like reading an Edgar Allan poem. There's just so much tragedy in this family that they can't just escape it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely a guilty pleasure. It's not a movie that I would say like, oh, I'm gonna watch it every year. It's like, no, I'll probably just wait another 2 years for me to watch it.
Maybe 5.
Yeah, and then I'll watch it again. But definitely check it out. If you haven't seen Legends of the Fall, definitely check it out. I got Paul. Paul is dying with us. He's just been laughing with all our comments. Thank you, Paul, for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before we head out, just make sure to check out our last week episode. We did The Crow. It's currently in our YouTube channel, Facebook page as well. And next week, we will be discussing, next week is my pick, and it falls under the category sports movie. And
what are we talking about?
We're going to be, we're actually doing another Brad Pitt movie.
Oh, yes.
So next week, we are going to be talking about Moneyball, one of my top sports movie out there, starring Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, Philip Seymour Hoffman before he passed away, based on a true story. I remember this event, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys, about this amazing movie called Moneyball with Brad Pitt.
Speaking of the growth, like it's a totally different Brad Pitt.
It is. Oh yes, it is. I mean,
and that's good. Like watch Legends of the Fall and then watch Moneyball afterwards, and you're gonna see.
You can see it's like when your teenager hits like finally like realizes like, oh shit, I can't be a teenager forever, and then it's like I need to be an adult. That's what Brad Pitt did with his film career. He did a couple of like, let me do a couple of overacting dramas, and then do like a psychological thriller, and then just do a comedy and there. And then next thing you know, like, hey, I made Moneyball, another Academy Award nominated performance. So yeah, we'll be talking about Moneyball next week.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MovieByte Podcast. Find us in your favorite podcasting app. We're everywhere. We're also on Twitch. If you haven't followed us on Twitch, just look it up at MovieByte Podcast. We're also there. We'll be here next Monday at 8 p.m. I am Ruben, with me the Russian, and that's it for today, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.